freedom is dying in the West. Freedom of speech. Some years ago, when a certain individual that can't be named on this platform was imprisoned, I made a speech at Speaker's Corner. And I said, first they came for such and such, then they came for somebody else. And I can't mention these people's names on this platform, because if I do, there'll be sanctions. But that poem by the cleric from Germany during the Second World War, where he said first they came for the communists, then they came for the trade unionists, then they came for the homosexuals, then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up. And when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up. That is the situation that Western Europe is slipping into. And it's time that we stood up and time that we spoke out. And many of us are fatigued because we've been fighting the fight against the establishment, because we've seen this for years. We've seen the establishment becoming ever more authoritarian, certainly in the UK. And people talk about the current so-called emergency legislation that's going through Parliament. There's lots of worse stuff coming down the road after that. If you knew what the Law Society are proposing relating to so-called hate speech, you would be on the streets in your tens of thousands. Or would you? Or would you? I don't know. I really don't know whether people care enough to actually do anything about this. I have friends that are literally, because of what's happening with our freedoms and because of what's happening and the discrimination that is basically happening right now in Western Europe, especially on the continent, but also in the UK, discrimination against people on the grounds of what they have done or what they haven't done with their bodies. And I have friends that are literally suffering severe and serious mental health issues because of what is going on. They are distraught about the way that they are being treated. And of course, on this platform, I can't really mention anything more than that. I can't say what I'm talking about. I've got to talk in riddles. I've got to talk about the Voldemort effect, the thing that can't be mentioned. But the reality is that our dear country, our beloved country, is being ruled by people who care nothing for your freedom, nothing for your liberty, nothing for your life. And there is a new tyranny waiting in the wings. And the reality is this: the crowd that we got in now, they're bad. They're really bad. But if the other crowd, if the Labour Party were in charge at the moment, you can absolutely guarantee that people will be forced to behave in a way that they shouldn't have to. But again, because I'm on this platform, I can't really go into a lot more detail than that, other than to say that our freedoms are threatened more than ever before. It's ironic, I recently listened to the audiobook 1984, and part of the irony in that is it was read by Stephen Fry, who, well, I think the less said about Stephen Fry, the better. But is he a champion of true liberty and freedom? I very much doubt it. He's part of the liberal elite as far as I'm concerned. But if anyone's familiar with the plot of 1984, and there's a lot talked about 1984, but there's very little known about it because very few people have actually read the book or listened to the audiobook or watched the film. And either one of those would give you a very good grounding in what happened to Winston Smith and how he was treated when he very, very quietly and in a very sort of English way, I suppose, rebelled against a totalitarian regime. And the interesting thing about 1984 is there's a constant brainwashing. There's a constant project fear. It's happening all the time. And the people that have the audacity to stand against Big Brother and against the system, they get re-educated, they get disappeared, they get executed. Now, of course, we're not at the stage of people getting shot, but I'm going to say something. I believe we will be soon. I believe there's going to come a time when people will be disappeared, literally. At the moment, people have been cancelled. People have been cancelled from social media. I mean, there was a purge, literally a Stalinist purge on social media. And I believe it was one of our ex-deputy prime ministers who was responsible for this. And a whole lot of us, we were named in this purge, and we were disappeared from a certain social media platform, Facebook. We lost our accounts, never got them back. And we never broke any hate speech laws, because if we did, you can guarantee we'd be in prison. But we were the undesirables, and we all got disappeared. And I remember speaking to, again, another man whose name that can't be mentioned. And on the day it happened, and he had, I don't know, I think about 1 million people following his page. He was disappeared, gone, vanished. And what we're facing now, in terms of freedom of speech, in terms of imposition and intrusion on your liberties by the state. And you see, I find it very interesting that the state can lock a complete population up. 60 odd million people can be locked up for the best part of a year. It was more than a year, wasn't it? We can be locked up. No consideration given to people's mental health, no consideration given to people's livelihood, the effect on the economy, none of that. Nobody seemed to care about that. We've been told it was all about protecting the NHS. Well, as I've said in previous videos, the NHS is meant to protect us, not the other way around. And the people that did this, the people that locked us all up, can't deal with a few plastic boats, rubber dinghies, coming across the English Channel. I find it absolutely mind-boggling. And now we see the discrimination starting. Literal discrimination against people in this country. That is a scandal. And I believe that these draconian measures that are being posed, this tyranny that is coming from the government, must be opposed by the people. No matter whether they are in the discriminated group or the non-discriminated group, we should come together and stand together and fight for each other's freedoms, because things are only going to get worse. And how do we do it? It's got to be demonstrations. I know Christmas is coming, and obviously people want to enjoy Christmas. But after Christmas, I think mass demonstrations need to be held right the way across this country to protest against the draconian and tyrannical measures that have been taken by this out-of-control government and this out-of-control establishment. When we got Brexit, we thought we got freedom. We didn't think we were going to swap one totalitarianism for another. But there is good news. We can actually get rid of these politicians at the moment. They have rigged the system. You see, what we've got to understand about the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, they disagree on very little. They disagree on very, very little. Most issues they're in complete agreement when it comes to the environment, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to big government and spending money that we haven't got. They're in absolute agreement. In fact, they're trying to outspend each other. Big tax, big government, take away your property, take away your cars, take away your freedoms. They love all that. They are tyrants. And they are dressed in sheep's clothing. They are wolves, ravening wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. And they are coming for our freedoms. Now, what do? Well, we have a very short time to do it in. But we need to form political parties that will attack them, that will bite back, and that will really stand for the people. And I'm joining For Britain. And I went to the conference 2 weeks ago. I spoke at the conference. It was a fantastic event. And I'm going to join For Britain. I know Anne-Marie Waters. I've known her for a long time. I trust her. She's a woman of integrity, honesty, courage. And she's leading a party that I believe is a perfect fit for going after the Labour Party. And this is the way I think it should happen. Now, again, if we manage to do this, remember I'm not speaking as someone who hasn't had experience with this. We very nearly got control of UKIP in 2017, 2018. But of course, UKIP was too much of an establishment party. Now, with For Britain, it's not about getting control, because you don't need to get control of For Britain, because the good guys are running For Britain. And people who care about this country, who deeply love this country. And there's great irony in this, that and Anne-Marie said this when we were at the conference, that it takes a woman, a lady from Dublin, to basically come to England and to help sort the problems out that the British have got themselves into in terms of politics and democracy. But she's a great lover of the United Kingdom. So I'm going to join For Britain. But if you're more of a sort of Tory boy, and I even if I was living in England, I would never in a million years vote for the Conservative Party. I despise them. I think they're corrupt and rotten to the core. It's my personal opinion. I'm not saying I'm right, but it's my opinion. If you're a Tory boy and joining a party like For Britain with all the working class oiks is not really up your street, well then join the Reform Party. And let's have a pincer movement, and let's strangle these mainstream parties, because they're always going to be Tories, and they're always going to be people who love the working class and want the working class to prosper. And I don't believe the Tories ever will want that. I don't believe Reform will want that. But let's have a pincer movement. Let's strangle the Labour Party's vote, and let's strangle the Tory Party's vote, using the parties that are actually out there. Because what's the point in everybody going after the same pie? And that's the only way we can do this. And we've got a very short time to do it in. It was bad in 2017, 2018. And the establishment did everything they could, and they succeeded in destroying our movement, in undermining our movement. And I believe there were people in that movement, some of them are probably dead now, there were people in that movement who were against what we were trying to achieve. I genuinely believe that. And they undermined it at every single move. But, we're wise to that now. And we know what we've got to do. Can we do it? I don't know. But I tell you what, we can have a good go and we can try hard. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join For Britain. I'm going to fight against this tyranny. And I would suggest, if you're working class and you love this country, join with me. We get For Britain up to a position where it's a couple of 100,000 members that get out on the streets and canvass and go into those Labour Party strongholds and tell them what we believe and what we're really about. We've got a hell of a fighting chance of doing something good and turning this situation around. But we must oppose this tyranny. We must oppose the tyranny, not just of what's happened in the past 18 months, but what will happen. Because the globalist elite, I believe, and I've never said this before because I didn't believe it before, I thought it was conspiratorial nonsense. But I genuinely believe that there is a globalist coup taking place against the people, against the population of Western civilization. And I think it could well be financed by China. The Chinese communists could well be behind it. Am I right? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But there's something very, very unpleasant happening in the UK at the moment. And to me, we have a duty to stand for our freedom. We stood up for Brexit. We voted for Brexit. We stood for Brexit. We stood for getting our freedoms back. And now we've got to stand against state tyranny. And we've got to face them down. And the only way we can do it is at the ballot box. So that's the direction I'm going in. I've always believed politics is the only answer. If we ever get to the stage where politics isn't the answer, we're in massive trouble. And well, I hope we never get to that stage. But to me, right now, we've got to get involved in the political process. And if you look at For Britain, the manifesto is absolutely world class. They stand for pretty much everything that I stand for: liberty, freedom, justice, democracy. And we've got to do something about what we're going through. And we've got to stand together. So I'll see you all soon. I hope I wasn't too obscure in my pronouncements, but because of the platform I'm on, I can't really tell you exactly what I think and exactly what I think about what's going on at the minute, because I lose the platform. And there's 10,000 of you guys that watch my videos, and I don't get any money for these. I'm completely demonetized off this platform. They're never going to pay me a penny for doing these videos, so I don't earn anything. But I think I've got a duty to people that have actually followed my channel to let you know what I think and where I think we go. We've lost the heady days where we had tens of thousands of people following us on Facebook and Twitter and all the other platforms. We've lost all that. But we can build this slowly. It'll be hard work and it'll be harder than it was before, but we can build things slowly. There's new platforms coming up: Rumble, Getter. I've got some websites up there, I've got some platforms up there. So we can do this, but we really do need to get political. You see, it's all right doing videos about what's wrong. And we've all done that for years. We've all said, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. But we need solutions, and the solution is getting involved in the political process and getting these scumbags out of power. These globalist, liberal scumbags who have destroyed our country, they need to go. They need to go and find a different career. They need to go and write their memoirs. And the only way to do it legally is to get involved in the political process and beat them at their own game. And that's what I intend to do. So I'll see you all soon. These are dark days, but I'm a great believer in the British people. You see, the British people are a very peaceful, loving, placid people. But when they wake up and realise what's happening, and a lot more people are waking up, when they wake up and realise what's happening and that their freedoms are being stolen and the future generations are being betrayed, well then I think we'll get somewhere, and we'll see a great victory, and we'll see a great day of reckoning when we do indeed bring back Britain. See you all soon.